හරිම සුමුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Thursday, the 15th of February 2024. Controversial bill. Amendments to Online Safety Act to be sent to legal draftsman for a new amendment bill. Public can challenge contends 2 weeks within Gazette publication. Mass fabrication. Court informs that former Health Minister Keheliya Rambukwala fabricated a drug shortage in Sri Lanka to intentionally support the misappropriation of 2 billion rupees. Assurance. JICA chief agrees to support resumption of stagnant development projects under Japanese funds following the completion of debt restructuring. And exposed. Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminal audit reveals data deleted and massive losses in stock holding.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසින් ලබාගත හැක.
This is AdaDerana First at 9 with Ndivari Amuata and Mahish Johnny. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening, everyone. Welcome to First at 9, your English news bulletin that brings you the latest from here at home and all over the world. A very good evening, Indira. You seems a little bit busy.
A very warm welcome and good evening to you, Mahish. Yes, very busy. We have a number of stories to report today, and we keep getting news items as the news progresses.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes this job really interesting. So the Online Safety Act will be amended because there are certain amendments that have to be submitted.
Absolutely, and that was a little bit of a surprising thing, because you should have done all this prior to putting it into Parliament and again going back. Having this entire process again.
Certainly, and this is quite a controversial one.
Especially for us.
Exactly, and this is concerning democracy, freedom of expression in the country. So it's interesting to see how Sri Lanka tackles this, especially with the international community, and a lot of concerns by investors and diplomats about the implementation of online safety.
In a good way that the government is actually listening to them and making sure that the amendments that they are suggesting is also being taken into consideration. There's also other stories with regard to the health matter.
About there came to light that mass fabrication of
funds.
A shortage of drugs in the country during the time when we kept reporting this. This was a development. The public was in dire straits because there weren't sufficient drugs in the country. So that is also an interesting development here. The PUCSL is proposing a tariff reduction. I think we spoke about a possible VAT reduction in the next 3 months, probably.
Elections are coming, so let's wait and see. Anyway, let's begin tonight's bulletin. Now, necessary amendments to the Online Safety Act that were approved by the Cabinet at its meeting on Monday will be sent to the legal draftsman to be included in a draft bill.
Addressing media today, Justice Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa said that any irregularities in the new bill can be challenged in the Supreme Court once the bill is published in the Gazette.
Now, the controversial Online Safety Bill, which was passed in Parliament on the 24th of January, went into law with effect from the 1st of February after Speaker of Parliament Mahinda Abeyewardena placed his endorsement on the bill.
The Online Safety Bill is a Sri Lankan internet safety bill aimed at regulating citizens' internet usage.
මහජන ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශය මේක ගේන්නේ 2023 වසරට සමාජ මාධ්‍ය යොදාගෙන සිදු කරපු අපරාධමය කාරණා සම්බන්ධව පැමිණිලි 5000 ඉක්මවලා තියෙනවා.
The act was introduced to Parliament by the Ministry of Public Security last year based on over 5,000 complaints received by the Police Computer Crime Investigation Division related to social media crimes. Around 47 petitions were filed before the Supreme Court against this bill, which is the highest number against a single bill so far. Following consideration of those petitions, the Supreme Court issued its determination on amendments that should be made to the bill. After studying the Supreme Court determination, the Attorney General made necessary amendments in line with the ruling. However, although certain sections of the preliminary draft that were not argued before the Supreme Court but should have been amended were also incorporated. The Minister of Public Security had an agreement in principle pertaining to those amendments. However, we cannot present these amendments to the committee stage of Parliament because they were not argued at the Supreme Court. Thereby, we did not present the amendments that were agreed upon with the stakeholders during the committee stage after the second reading due to a legal barrier. At the Cabinet meeting, however, all those amendments were presented by the Ministry of Public Security. The Cabinet approved those amendments and they will be sent to the legal draftsman. Following the completion of the draft process, it will be sent to the Attorney General. Thereafter, the Attorney General must certify its constitutionality. Then Cabinet must approve the bill once again. The draft bill will then be gazetted. After 7 days of being published in the Gazette, it can be tabled in Parliament for the first reading. If there are issues pertaining to the amendments in the draft bill, it can be challenged at the Supreme Court within a period of 2 weeks. Thereafter, any problems can be resolved. We have not introduced acts to protect the government or the President, neither we aim to oppress the general public.
ආණ්ඩුව ආරක්ෂා කරන්න පනත් ගෙනල්ලත් නැහැ ජනාධිපති ආරක්ෂා කරන්න පනත් ගේන්නෙත් නැහැ මහජනතාව පීඩාවට පත් කරන්න පනත් ගේන්නෙත් නැහැ.
A parliamentarian of Ilangai Tamil Arasa Katchi, M.A. Sumandiran, filed fundamental rights application before the Supreme Court challenging the certification of the Online Safety Act. While the petition, Sumandiran highlights the alleged discrepancies between the Act and the Supreme Court's determination which mandated specific amendments for compliance. Now, the petition contends that the speaker's certification purportedly based on advice from the Attorney General was invalid and unconstitutional.
President of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, Dr. Tanaka Akihiko, terms Sri Lanka as a center of gravity for global economic development and pledged the development agency's assistance for development and reform agenda of Sri Lanka. As part of his visit to Sri Lanka, the JICA chief agreed to assist in developing the second terminal of the Bandaranaike International Airport, which began in year 2020 under a JICA soft loan scheme but was halted in year 2022 due to the economic crisis in the island. Dr. Akihiko added that JICA focuses its assistance on uplifting the agriculture and rural industries, developing rural communities and expanding social services related to education and health in Sri Lanka. President of Japan International Cooperation Agency, Dr. Tanaka Akihiko, who is visiting in Sri Lanka, called on President Ranil Wickremesinghe last evening. During the meeting, the JICA chief appreciated Sri Lanka's commitment to the economic reform program while acknowledging its challenging nature. In response, President Wickremesinghe emphasized his focus on ensuring the swift resumption of stalled Japanese investment projects in Sri Lanka, including the expansion of Sri Lanka's international airport in Katunaika, the establishment of light rail transit system, and the construction of Central Expressway. Meanwhile, during his meeting with Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena in Colombo yesterday, the JICA president stated that Sri Lanka is a centre of gravity for global economic development. During the meeting, Dr. Akihiko asserted that JICA would provide a grant for a new renewable energy program that will establish solar energy units at hospitals in Sri Lanka. The JICA president said the development agency focuses its assistance on uplifting the agriculture and rural industries, developing rural communities, and expanding social services related to education and health sectors in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, during his meeting with the Minister of Aviation and Shipping, Dr. Akihiko gave assurances to support the construction of the second terminal at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunaika. Construction work, which started in year 2020 at a cost of 145 billion rupees under a JICA soft loan scheme, was halted in 2022 due to the country's economic crisis, with only 6% of construction completed. According to Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva, a provision of about $450 million in addition to the 145 billion rupees loan grant by JICA will be required to complete the project due to inflation. JICA President Dr. Tanaka Akihiko assured necessary support to Sri Lanka once the international debt restructuring process implemented by the International Monetary Fund is completed.
Now, a dispute erupted in Anuradhapura today with the inauguration of the much-anticipated Anuradhapura North Water Supply Project, as farmers claim the project will significantly impact the availability of water supply for irrigation in one of Sri Lanka's largest agricultural regions.
Well, Mahesh, farmers in the area protested today ahead of the planned launch of the water supply project, which aims at providing safe and clean drinking water to thousands of residents there, and police Special Task Force personnel were deployed to control the situation.
Indeed, now President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who declared open the project amidst protest, assured that the project is designed to safeguard agriculture while also addressing the pressing issue of chronic kidney disease prevalent in the region.
The first phase of the Anuradhapura North Water Supply Project was vested in the public today. The project was carried out by the Ministry of Water Supply and Estate Infrastructure Development with financial backing from the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The project will address the long-standing issue of chronic kidney disease prevalent in the areas of Madavachiya, Padaviya, Kabitigollawa, Horopatana and Kahatugasdigiriya with access to clean drinking water. However, a group of local residents were seen protesting in front of the project location, alleging that it would cause shortages of water availability in the area. A tensed situation erupted between police and protesters when attempts were made to disperse the demonstration. Later, a group of villagers were given the opportunity to discuss the matter with the president. However, amidst the protest, President Ranil Wickremesinghe inaugurated the water supply project.
අන්තිමට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ එන්නේ ගොවිතැන් කරන අයට ජලය ඕනේ, ගෙදර අනික් අයට පානීය ජලය ඕනේ. එකාතකින් වකුගඩු රෝගය වළක්වන්න නම් මේ පානීය ජලය ලබා දෙන්න තිබෙනවා. අපි ඒකට කැප වෙලා තියෙනවා. අනික් අතින් කෘෂිකර්මය සඳහා ජලය උමනාලා තියෙනවා. මේ නිසා සමහර අයගේ සැකයක් තියෙනවා කෘෂිකර්මයට උමනා ජලය නැති වෙයිද කියලා. එහෙම එකක් සිදු වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තියෙනවා. ඒ ගැන වග බලා ගන්නවා. මේ ව්‍යාකෘතිය අපි අමාරුවෙන් අවසන් කරේ. මේ රටේ ආර්ථිකය කඩාවැටෙන නිසා අපිට මුදල් තිබුණේ නැහැ කිසි වැඩ කටයුත්තක් කරන්න. කෙසේ හෝ මේකට අපි මුදල් ලබලා දීලා මේ වැඩ කටයුත්ත අවසන් කරලා තියෙනවා. අපි නව ආර්ථිකයක් ඇති කරලා හැම එක්කෙනාටම හොඳ අනාගතයක් ලබලා දෙන්න. මොකක් රටවල් ඉඩම් දෙන්නේ අපි දැන් ඉඩම් ගිහින් උරුමෙන් ඉඩම්ුත් දෙනවා. මේ ගොවිතැන් කරන ඉඩම් කීයක අයිතිය තියනවද? පුරාණකම් වල තියෙනවා. අනික් ඔය තියෙන්නේ ඉඩම් සංවර්ධන පනත යටතේ දීලා තියෙන බලපත්‍ර. මම කියන්නේ බලපත්‍ර ඔක්කොම අපි සින්නක් කර අයිතියට ඇති කරනවා. අන්න ඒකත් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කොළඹ තියෙන තට්ටු නිවාසත් දෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ වැඩ කටයුතු කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. මේ මෙතනින් ඉවර නෑ. අපි දැන් සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යන්නේ කොහොමද වැව්වල මේ විදුලි බලාගාරත් ඇති කරන්නේ කියලා. අපිට අතිරික්තයක් තියෙන නිසා ඉන්දියාවට විකුණන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් හරිත ඔක්සිජන්, හරිත ඇමෝනියා අපිට හදන්න පුළුවන්. අපි නව ආර්ථිකයක් ඇති කරලා හැම එක්කෙනාටම හොඳ අනාගතයක් ලබලා දෙන්න.
Well, some good news now. The Ceylon Electricity Board proposes a tariff reduction of 3.34%, thereby hoping to pass the benefit to the general public. Now, speaking at a public consultation of the proposed tariff reduction today, Acting General Manager of the CEB, Dr. Narendra De Silva, pointed out that Sri Lanka must generate electricity through the three sources which are available: liquefied natural gas, solar power and hydropower, highlighting that reducing the cost of generation is crucial rather than criticizing each and every project which is being put forward.
Public consultation pertaining to the proposed electricity tariff revision was held at the BMICH this morning.
අද වෙනකොට අපේ කිලෝවට් අව ඒකක වියදම රුපියල් 40යි සත 76ක් වෙනවා. ආසියාතික රටවල් වලට සමායනය කළාම මේ රුපියල් 40යි සත 76 කියන එක උදක්ම වැඩි. මේ 40 76 රුපියල් 30ක් 31ක් පමණ විය යුතු වෙනවා. මේ වෙලාව වෙනකොට අපි සතුව පවතින්නේ LNG, සූර්ය බලය සහ සුළං බලය. මේ බලශක්ති ප්‍රභවයන් තුනෙන් අපි බලශක්තිය නිෂ්පාදනය කරන්න වෙනවා. එන ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකට විවිධ අඩුපාඩුකම් කියන්නේ නැතුව පොදු මතයක පිහිටා සිටීමෙන් ජනන වියදම අඩු කරගන්න වෙනවා. ලහි අපිට ඒක කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
අපේ වියදම රුපියල් බිලියන 686යි. අපේ ආදායම රුපියල් බිලියන 710ක් විදිහට පුරෝකථනය කරා. සර්ප්ලස් එකක් තියෙනවා 1.62ක යුනිට් එකකට. ඒක අපි මහ ජනතාවට ලබා දෙනවා 3.34ක විදුලි බිල් අඩුවීමක් ලෙස.
During the public consultation event, a tense situation erupted between the public and representatives of the Public Utilities Commission.
දැන් අපි එදා කිව්වා මේක අනීතිකයි කියලා.
කරුණා කරලා මෙම ටැරිෆ් ඩිවිෂන් එක ගැන කතා කරන්න.
ටැරිෆ් ඩිවිෂන් එක තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. ඔබතුමා බාධා කරන්න එපා. අධික වර්ෂාව ආවා. 80%කට වඩා ජල විදුලියක් නිෂ්පාදනය කළා. බිලියන 26කට වැඩිය ලාභ ඉපෙව්වා. විදුලි බිල අඩු කරන්න 3.3යි දශම ගාණක් තමයි විදුලි වල මණ්ඩලය කියන්නේ.
We are not here මේක මොකද යෝජිත විදුලි බල ගාස්තු පිළිබඳ අදහස් විමසීම මිසක් කොමිසමේ හොඳ කිරීම නෙමෙයි. That is completely wrong. I protest.
ව්‍යාපාර ලක්ෂ 2ක් විදුලි බිල ගෙවා ගන්න බැරුව තමයි වහලා දාලා තියෙන්නේ. අපි හිතමු අඩුතරමේ 120කවත් අවම විදුලි මිල අඩු කිරීමක් 2024 ඔබට කරන්න පුළුවන්.
මේක 128ක් 33ක් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක මිල අඩුවීමක් ජනතාවට ලැබිය යුතුයි කියලා කියනවා. විදුලි බල පනත පැහැදිලිවම 30 වන වගන්තියේ කියනවා මේක ලාභ ඉපෙීමක් කරන්න බෑ කියලා විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයට. නමුත් විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලය අද වෙනකොට රුපියල් බිලියන 70කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් ලාභ ලබලා තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට අපිට සැකයක් තිබෙනවා මේ ලාභ අවභාවිතා කරන්න මේ මුදල් ප්‍රමාණය තියාගෙන ඉන්නවාද කියලා.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara says he has received an audit report from KPMG and Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals audit investigation officials revealing that more than 1.3 million entries on SAP data have been changed or deleted since year 2010 and that the most of them have occurred in 2022 during the height of Sri Lanka's fuel crisis. Taking to X, the minister said that the major findings of the forensic audit conducted by KPMG on the sale and distribution of petroleum products from Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited were briefed to him this afternoon. According to findings, massive losses have been recorded from stock holdings in 2022 amounting to 28 billion rupees, and after the complaint was lodged by the minister in 2022, it has come down to 4 billion rupees in 2023. Minister Kanchana further said that the full report will be handed over by KPMG next week and that he will hand over the complete report to the CID for further investigations and to take appropriate legal steps. It will also be shared with the Cabinet of Ministers, the Parliament and the Auditor General and the Attorney General's Department to pursue forward measures.
In other local stories we have for you tonight. Now, the second phase of the applications for the Asasa program to select 400,000 more beneficiaries for the social welfare program was announced today. As such, new applications will be accepted during a span of 1 month up until the 15th of March. Now, Chairman of the Welfare Benefits Board, Jayanta Vijayaratna, noted that those who are eligible will receive the benefits without any repercussions. Now, he went on to clarify that families that were unable to submit applications during the first phase or did not participate in the housing information census can also apply during the new phase which commenced today. In the meantime, State Minister of Finance Shahan Semasinga stated that applications can be submitted online or through divisional secretariats. He added that the government intends to increase the total number of Asasa beneficiaries, which stands close to 2 million to 2.4 million people.
And on the case pertaining to the procurement of substandard medicines under emergency procurement, Deputy Solicitor General Lakmini Giragama informed the court that former Health Minister Kehelia Ramukwala had fabricated a shortage of drugs in the country to intentionally support the misappropriation of 2 billion rupees. She also revealed that the medicines were purchased from funds allocated via the government budget to the Ministry of Health, but it had been recorded as a transaction to purchase oxygen.
The court case pertaining to the procurement and distribution of substandard human immunoglobulin vaccines via the preparation of forged documents was taken up for consideration before the Maliga Kanda Magistrate Court today. 6 of 7 suspects under remand custody were produced before court. Former Minister of Health Keheli Rambukwella, a suspect in the case, was not produced, citing a health reason. However, prison officials noted that he will be produced before the court on the 22nd of February. Deputy Solicitor General Lakmini Girihagama, presenting her submission before the magistrate, said investigations have revealed that the former health minister had fabricated a false shortage of drugs in the country to enable and carry out an emergency procurement. According to the Deputy Solicitor General, the minister had claimed in year 2022 of a shortage of 182 drugs in Sri Lanka and that the health sector can collapse if the shortage is not addressed within a period of 2 weeks. She presented before the court that the 182 drugs were not named in the documents, although the minister announced a shortage. The Deputy Solicitor General also revealed that former Health Secretary Tanaka Chandragupta called for expressions of interest for the supply of 285 medicines under an emergency procurement procedure on the very next day. However, she noted that only the names of 229 medicines were forwarded for the emergency procurement process and added that there were sufficient stocks of even 210 of the listed drugs. Out of the remaining 90 medicines, the Deputy Solicitor General revealed that no procurement had been made for 9, while 10 drug categories were received in Sri Lanka 3 months after the date of procurement. Deputy Solicitor General Lakmini Girihagama clarified that it is clear that the emergency procurement process had been initiated by fabricating a non-existent drug shortage in Sri Lanka to intentionally support the misappropriation of 2 billion rupees. She also revealed that the medicines were purchased from funds allocated by the budget to the Ministry of Health, but it has been recorded as a transaction to purchase oxygen.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's move on to business news right now.
Sri Lanka and Israel signed an agreement to operate more airlines and direct flights between the two nations.
Addressing a media briefing at the President's Media Centre, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation, Nimalsiripala De Silva, said that the arrival of ships to the Colombo port amidst the dangerous situation in the Red Sea has increased by 32%, thereby giving a rise to revenues generated by the ports and shipping sector.
Meanwhile, commenting on the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport, for which expressions of interest were called to select a private investor to hand over its management on a 30-year contract to improve the airport's efficiency, the aviation minister revealed that the tender board has selected an investor and the discussions are at their final stage.
Now, he also said that the airport will be managed as a joint project between India and Russia.
ඊශ්‍රායලයේ ගමනාගමන කටයුතු පිළිබඳ ඇමතිතුමිය පැමිණිලා ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජය හා ඊශ්‍රායල් රජය වෙනුවෙන් ගුවන් සේවා සම්මුතියක් අත්සන් කරා. ඊශ්‍රායලයේ සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සිට ඊශ්‍රායලයේ තෙල්ලලවි ගුවන් තොටුපොළ දක්වාත ඍජු ගුවන් ගමන් සේවා ආරම්භ කරලා ඒ වඩාත් ප්‍රවර්ධනය කරමින් දැනට ඇති මගීන්ගේ ඉල්ලුමට සරිලන පරිදි ගුවන් යානා සංසරණය ශක්තිමත් කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය පහසුකම් සැලසීම තමයි මේ ගිවිසුමින් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. පලාලි ගුවන් තොටුපොළ සඳහා දැනට දින පතාම ගුවන් ගමනක් ඉන්දියාවේ ඉඳන් ආරම්භ කරලා තියෙනවා. අපි එන මාසයේ ඉඳන් තවත් ගුවන් යානයක් ගෙනීමට දැනට ඉන්ඩිගෝ සමාගම සමග අපි සාකච්ඡා කරගෙන යනවා. මම හිතනවා එය සාර්ථක වෙයි කියලා. මත්තල ගුවන් තොටුපොළ පිළිබඳව අපි අභිලාෂ කැඳවීමක් කරා. මෙහි පරිපාලනය බාර අරගෙන වැඩි ගුවන් මගී සංඛ්‍යාවක් මත්තල ගුවන් තොටුපොළට ගෙනීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය ආයෝජකයෙක් සොයා ගැනීමට එක් ආයෝජකයෙක් දැනට ටෙන්ඩර් මණ්ඩලයේ මගින් තෝරාගෙන තියෙනවා. අවසාන සාකච්ඡා පවත්වාගෙන යනවා. සම්මුතියකට ඇවිල්ලා ඒ ගුවන් තොටුපොළත් ලාභදායී ගුවන් තොටුපොළක් බවට පත් කරවා ගැනීම සඳහා ඒ විදේශ ආයෝජකයාට අපිට විශේෂයෙන්ම රුසියන් සහ ඉන්දියානු කියන මේ රටවල් දෙකේම ඒකාබද්ධ පෞද්ගලික ව්‍යාපෘතියක් හැටියට තමයි ඔවුන් ඉල්ලලා තියෙන්නේ. රතු මුහුදේ ඇති වෙලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව අපට එන නෞකා ප්‍රමාණය 32%කින් පමණ වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපේ ආදායමත් ඒ අනුව වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Which Israeli carriers will be deploying direct flights to Sri Lanka, for example? Is El Al coming to Sri Lanka?
Akia is already carrying some flights. They will enhance the number of flights and they will get some other airlines also to come. Once this agreement is finalized today, we sign it according to the Israel government rules. That agreement will have to go before Israel Parliament for ratification.
About this Adani Group managing 3 airports in Sri Lanka, Mattala and
Not only Adani, there are several, even Chinese, from many other countries, private entrepreneurs. They have sent their expression of interest to manage these things. But we have not taken a decision to give it to anybody at the moment.
Let's take you to the Colombo stock market now. The Colombo bulls closed in green today, driven by gains in consumer staples and financial stocks. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange all-share price index climbed 0.35% to settle at 10,568.46, snapping a 2-day losing streak. LOLC Financial and Sri Lanka Telecom were the top gainers on the index, rising 2.4% and 1.3% respectively. Trading volumes on the ASPI rose to 29.8 million shares from 25.4 million shares in the previous session. The S&P SL20 meanwhile rose by 0.37%, ending at 3,035.35 points. The market turnover rose to 961.5 million rupees from 695.1 million rupees in the previous session. The banking sector was the top contributor to the market turnover, while the capital goods sector was the second highest contributor. Foreign investors were net sellers, offloading stocks worth of 178.8 million rupees, while domestic investors were net buyers, purchasing shares worth 875.2 million rupees.
Now, Japan was pushed into recession as the economy contracted unexpectedly with weak domestic consumption.
Now, its economy shrank for 2 quarters in a row, causing the country to lose its position as the world's 3rd largest economy.
High inflation crimped domestic demand and private consumption in what's now the world's 4th largest economy, overtaken by Germany.
Domestic product shrank at an annualized pace of 0.4% in the last 3 months of 2023, after having contracted by an annualized 3.3% in the previous quarter. It was confirmed that Japan no longer holds the position of the world's 3rd largest economy, losing the spot to Germany. Data shows that all major domestic demand categories, including consumer spending, were negative last year, and the only external demand, which is captured by exports of goods and services, made a positive contribution. Private consumption, which accounts for half of the economy, declined by an annualized 0.9% in the 4th quarter as Japanese consumers battled higher prices for food, fuel and other goods. It marks a 3rd straight quarter of falls. 2 quarters in a row of economic contraction are typically considered the definition of a technical recession.
Well, oil prices rebounded from earlier losses today on the back of a weak dollar, but an International Energy Agency report flagging slowing demand growth this year and a larger than expected jump in US crude inventories capped gains. Brent futures were up 53 cents or 0.7% to $82.13 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate crude futures meanwhile gained 52 cents or 0.7%, ending at $77, up 2%. The US dollar usually boosts oil prices as it makes the commodity cheaper for holders of other currencies. Further, oil prices gains were limited by an International Energy Agency report today, which said that global oil demand is losing momentum, prompting the agency to trim its 2024 growth forecast to 122 million barrels per day from 1.24 million barrels per day. On the supply side, the International Energy Agency estimated that supply will grow by 1.7 million this year from its previous forecast of 1.5 million barrels a day.
Well, Sri Lanka rupee closed at 313 rupees to 72.90 cents to the US dollar from around 313 rupees. Now, with that, let's take a look at the day's rupee exchange rate. In corporate affairs this evening, now Sunshine Holdings PLC recorded a consolidated revenue of 42.4 billion rupees during the first 9 months of the current financial year, with a solid top line and bottom line growth of 10% and 44% year on year, with profits after tax increased to 5.5 billion rupees. Also, Haley Solar secured 2 awards at the Brand Excellence Awards organized by Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing. Meanwhile, celebrating the Valentine's Day, McDonald's Sri Lanka made a special introduction to its customers yesterday. With that, here's a look at more corporate news in brief.
Sunshine Holdings PLC recorded a consolidated revenue of 42.4 billion rupees during the first 9 months of the current financial year. The company has further reported solid top line and bottom line growth of 10% and 44% year on year, with profit after tax increased to 5.5 billion rupees as a result of business growth and lower finance costs during the period. In addition, the healthcare sector of the company emerged as the largest contributor to Sunshine's top line, accounting for 50% of total revenue, with the consumer sector at 35% and the agribusiness sector of the group tallying 15% of the total revenue. Haley's Solar, the renewable energy arm of Haley's Fentons Limited, clinched 2 awards at the Brand Excellence Awards organised by the Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing. They secured the Bronze Award for Green Brand of the Year and the Merit Award for the Best New Entrant Brand of the Year. Commenting on the win, the manager marketing of Haley's Fentons Limited stated that these wins serve as motivation for the company to continue strengthening the connection and communication with their stakeholders. Meanwhile, in commemoration of Valentine's Day, McDonald's Sri Lanka introduced a smile-activated vending machine during a special event held at the McDonald's One Golface Mall. Special smile-activated vending machine, which collects and shares the smiles of the public, is the first vending machine that recognizes people's smiles and rewards them with treats.
We are quite excited to present this novel event to all our customers. This is happening for the first time in Sri Lanka. We always believe and work towards to bring feel-good moments to our customers, bring happiness to the customer's face. This is one such event. We also invite all our customers to join and take part in this event.
Well, we are running out of time, but before that, we want to update you with regard to what's happening around the world before the world news kicks in right after First at 9. Indiviri?
Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Russian scientists were close to creating vaccines for cancer that could soon be available to patients.
Speaking at a Moscow forum on future technologies, he said that he hopes that vaccine will be effectively used as methods of individual therapy.
And that's a wrap from us for tonight on First at 9. I'm Indivari Amuatha.
Mahesh Johnny, have a good night.